And so on, we're at. Yes, Lisa.
How would you look, first of all, how would you sum up that game? First half and the second half, what do you think you guys did well after the break and what didn't work so well?
Overall, I thought we did what we wanted to do in terms of sort of trying to maintain some elements of how we played against Benetton. It's always going to be much trickier. A game like this, conditions, the opposition, that stuff. So that we have that standard like around the small stuff, whether that's small D or breakdown reaction or that was really good. Yeah, I'm really happy with the performance in general. Yes, the problem in the first half is the 7 scrum continues to them through perhaps force balls in the wrong areas, which is probably something we talked about a little bit before the game. I thought the second half was, it was Benetton 2.0. The way we trapped them. Sometimes you get frustrated when you see those kicks going in the 22, but then it gives them a horrible exit, creates the transitions. Started towards the end of the first half. We started to sort of open them up there. Yeah, I think maybe we forced one or two, if there's any criticism of this team today, which would be very little, one or two forced in the first half, which probably put us under pressure. I say, giving them 6 or 7 put-ins in the first half is too much. But for the rest, really, defensively really good. And I think we all expect, because it's a Stormers and because of the Benetton, because of the Dragons, it must be 70. Or was it 48? That was a good performance. Sorry, the point I was trying to make is, we didn't want Benetton backs against the wall reaction, kind of really super performance, and a sort of emotional come down. I didn't see that lack of intensity there. That was really important to us.
And that sealed 5th place for you guys now. You have 5th place in your own hands ahead of next week's game.
I haven't looked if it's sealed 5th, but I know none of us, because we all want the same thing. And a month ago, we wouldn't have thought the Stormers would make the playoffs with a game to spare. So very pleased, grateful to Moon and the team for the way they stood up. So now it becomes who, and that's we can't engineer anything.
Just last bit, Double. You dominated the scrums. Moon, I know you spoke to the ref a couple of times. So do you know what the conversation was in terms of all those short arms? Normally it becomes a long arm, and then you got to go forward, but there was never any. We looked at the penalty count; it was red against them, but the card just never came.
Right now I don't really have an explanation for it. I think Andre is a world-class ref, and he obviously has his interpretations. On the bright side, we can only look at ourselves. I thought we dominated. Every ref is different with the interpretations. As long as we control what we can, hopefully we get the rubber the green next time.
So, Mon, in the process of you guys qualified with room to spare, Bobby, you could probably also speak to this, but there's somewhere in the process you're bringing through some very good young players. I mean, you dominated the scrum today with Vernon Mutonga, and your third tighted, and if you look like all the Villiers or something, made a few turnovers, so you must be quite happy as a captain that you seem to have mature young players coming through.
Yeah, I think there's not a bit of stress amongst the players at all. I think the talent that's coming through is really, really remarkable, and it gives you ease as a captain, and you can see the team is at ease. Everyone is really there on merit, and I think you mentioned Vernon. I think he has an outstanding future ahead of himself. He's still a bit underrated. I think a lot of people don't really know who he is, but geez, he's quality. And same thing with Zach, quality leader, quality tight end. Paul de Villiers will know, remarkable player, and just a matter of time.
No, I agree with Moon. If you'd said, I think I made this point last week, if you'd said to us, you're going to play a game here without Brock Harris, Stephen Kitzel, Frans Verherben, Cliff Shear, Dion Fourie and BJ Dixon taken out of your pack, so it'll be the end of our URC, and that gives me so much optimism. It feels like really comfortable. We almost, we're just building. I think this project, I can't claim credit. It wasn't the idea to push Vernon like this, you know. It's a good lesson for me as a coach that these guys are good enough. You know, sometimes, you know, we would have kept going. For example, Brothers would have started every game now, you know, and we were forced into it, and it's a good lesson for us. But I think in terms of the project, which is actually what we call this, you know, obviously we want to win this season. But us becoming a really giant of world rugby, and it's fantastic for us.
Rubin has his hand up.
Yeah, just on that as well, Marcel Tennyson got man of the match. Every week, Dobber, I've just been watching, he's just been growing all the time, and you must be really happy with what you see from Marcel. I mean, he's filling Ben Jason's boots, that's really big boots, and stepped up nicely.
Yeah, he's incredible work rates, and I think line-out wise is magic, isn't it? It doesn't look like a traditional seven, these line-out sevens, but Jeeves is explosive. He's special.
Just to follow up on that as well, BJ Dixon and Mani Lubbock, I know sort of platform ready to ask, but we don't see you, or maybe another occasion, next week we only have a chance again, but just the contract dispute with Ben Jason and Mani as well, are they going to be staying or are they be leaving? Sorry to put you on the spot, though.
No stress. They requested arbitration on a clause in his contract. I'm absolutely convinced BJ will be staying and playing for us, and knowing BJ is a quality like he'll play. You know, that's almost a technicality in the contract that we didn't get agreement on. But BJ's personality is good 100% for the Stormers, and I'm convinced he'll stay. It's a pity that we had to go that it's gone this far. Pity that it's sort of been watched in public, but BJ I'm sure will stay at the Stormers, absolutely sure.
Fantastic.
Mani, they've been talking about sabbatical. I suppose the first conversation was to get him sort of back on the field and then have a chat to him. So I can't give you, I don't want to sit here, you guys are part of the project, you know, I don't want to sit here and say Mani's definitely staying.
Yeah.
I think chances of Mani going on a sabbatical or Mani, you know, it's tricky, you know. We gave Andre Smith a sabbatical, and what it allows us to do in those situations, it allows him to earn money that can change his life, and also extend with the Stormers, and extend at a rate that we can probably afford, you know, because our model of ownership's a little bit different perhaps to some of the other big franchises, you know. So, and then, you know, you're not going to say if Mani has a chance to change his life financially. I mean, he's done so much good for us, been a big part of this franchise, the success we've had over the last few years. I don't think we'll say no to it, but I promise you, we haven't literally sat with Mani, his agent, and said, okay, let's try and work out a plan. He's signed like Sasha to 27, and there is, of course, a management issue between Sasha and Mani. You know, I could pretend it's, you know, we've avoided it this year by injury, but we don't always want to be like that. So there are probably a couple of conversations to happen. Now that he must play next Friday, he will play next Friday, and he'll have a role to play in us in the playoffs.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Marco.
Coach, I know the mission is to make Cape Town smile. How's about the other way around when people come out in this weather to come and support the team like the way they do?
Maybe Moon.
Yeah, I think it's extremely special, regardless of the weather. They probably the most loyal fans out there, and most honest, definitely. But geez, yeah, special people, and there's no place like home.
And just a question for both of you though, in terms of Damian Willemse, a Centurion, still a young guy, still a ways to go as well. Just both your thoughts on just what he brings to this franchise and to the game in general.
Moon spoke very well about the change, so I let Moon do most of this one. But he was the guy who said the thing about "Hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie." Remember, he used it in the World Cup. Ons weet nie wat ons het nie. Damian Willemse. He's just. I think we not take it for granted. I don't mean that but he would walk into. Can you guys tell me a rugby team in the world he wouldn't play? National or world club. And what he brings as a person and a professional. We can see the huddle, which is the software, you know, we use. Who's doing the huddle hours? We know where Connor Evans is. We know where Scurry is. We know where Damien is, you know. So, no, yeah. We've got a national treasure, a full stop, as a person, as a player. Can't speak enough when you speak about each other.
That's exceptional human being.
Yeah, Munat, I was just interested to know what happened with that prop roll thing. I just couldn't understand what happened there. I just need to get some clarity on that.
Yeah, I think technically I lost the battle by being late. I think as soon as I realized that, look, I was in the contact and I realized there's a potential crocodile coming, I bailed out immediately, hence why there was no weight on any limbs. And that was the question I tried to ask the ref, but obviously they need to keep it consistent. So his argument was there was attempted croc roll, so couldn't argue that.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to do more breakdown with Dabo, I guess. Yeah.
Dabo, just in the instance like that, do you get feedback from the referees if you question, you know, or
Yeah.
I don't know what the process is. but-
Yeah, we definitely, that's one of the clips we're sending in, and there's no question. Because if you start looking at intent or attempted, it's trying to be taken out of rugby because of its subjective nature. You know what I mean? Where it's like you often, the guy intended to take somebody's head off. If you didn't, it's been removed, hasn't it? Is there head contact?
Yeah.
And so that would be something to seek clarity. I thought it was a hell of a sanction. I mean, I know it's not the referee's fault, but a hell of a sanction for the attempted, yellow card, try scrape, Damon's try. It's probably made it more expensive, but. We were frustrated with it, having watched it, and we also thought maybe there was a case for this high tackle on Sasha first, and then in which case that was the first active foul play. But as Moon said, he's a really good ref. But we just had a couple of guys here with him and Neetling and Moon off in the last 2 games. So
Will Moon have to go to tackle school?
So the other thing is, who are you going to find, Marco? Who are you going to find to hold the bag? Don't be taking him to
one of the journalists were asking Philo about the Stormers, one of the Stormers players, Sasha van den Philo referred to the coloured players, compared to the Polynesian Super 8 players. Obviously spoke highly of the players. Today you guys had about, I think, 9, 10 players of colour. On the other end, there's a team that has like one. I don't make a big deal about it, but I think obviously something that's been good and happening at the Stormers.
Yeah, we want to be a team that absolutely looks like the people of Cape Town, plays like the people of Cape Town want, which is that's the rugby that we're playing at the moment. It's a big part of the project. What is beautiful about this, and we don't count. I do like afterwards, because it's nice. It's proud to see that this team looks. I think the project's in good shape. And then sometimes a season where I haven't, because what tends to happen, some of those players go into the national team, and we've got to really make sure that we're producing, giving opportunities to the next tier, not guys who've just come through really excellent schools. So that's it's not something to ever take your hand off the till, but it's so nice to choose a team completely on merit and sit back, lekker, where there's no engineering of any form. It's very important to me that the team looks like and plays like the people of Cape Town want. We can never be a drop 10 vanilla team. We can never be a kick and chase team. So if he's suggesting that some of those players, if you like, bring a flair that's like upon you, it's probably true. It's probably been discovered at a national level as well. I think it's made a big difference to the Springboks that no longer just guys selected on the wing, that it's inherent in the national rugby DNA now as well. And that's how South African rugby should be. Our DNA of power with really explosive players, but it doesn't mean that a white wing is not explosive, or this is not a big mean international forward. The mix is just fantastic, and it's very, very important to our project. So.
Gavin.
The bad news probably for you is that you're probably almost certainly going to go to Glasgow, I'd say, for the quarterfinal. The good news is that Benetton beat them 33-7 today, and to me it looks like since that game against Leinster in the Champions Cup, they've lost quite a bit of their mojo. Whereas you guys are gaining yours. But the question I really actually want to ask is when you go into a game like that, because often the problem is that you get there too soon before the game. But with the Champions Cup the week before, can you go earlier if you have to go? I mean, can you go, say, before the weekend and actually settle properly for a change?
Good question, good point. Absolutely, exactly what we thought of. So we pretty much thought of that we were going to go to Durban the whole time. That looks increasingly unlikely, especially you see the team Leinster put out tonight.
Yeah.
Obviously the people have rounded the Jackals are tearing them apart, so they're going to go full strength, aren't they? And they'll go full strength next week. Expect them to win that game, which will mean we're going to Scottstown, and we would leave on the Saturday a week before. Okay. So travel, and because it's a playoff, we could travel pretty directly, and then rest on the Sunday and put proper training week there. I think last year Glasgow were at their full pomp, with thing, and I think it came down. I know we lost it by 10 plus in the end, I can't remember. But there was a scrum called, remember, when against Neertlim, where I thought we were really hard in the mix. So, yeah, if we have to go that way, we have to go that way. If things go wrong next Friday, we have to go Kings Park. Pretoria wouldn't complain either. Right? Yeah, but we would never, we can't, we're playing on Friday night, we would never gerrymander a game, so we have to get our heads around Scott's tune. We've got scar tissue there, but we've also got a point to prove there.
You sort of almost due against them.
Yeah, we very much so.
I mean, you've had close games, as you say, that they don't look close on the scoreboard, but you've actually been pushing. I can't remember, you beat them in the first season under a different coach.
Yeah, under a different coach, and then we lost, we played 2 away ones there, and they were controversial. We remember one we went under 13 men.
Yes.
And then the quarter final, I thought we were really unlucky. We sent a lot of clips in after that game. I think the Glasgow here, actually, ironically, Stellenbosch is the one they got one over us. Remember, Marnie got caught in backfield,
Yes.
and they won by 10, I think, and they deserved to win.
Damian got injured.
Yeah, Damian got it, and BJ went off in the first 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But it's not the fear that it would have been
Yeah.
a while ago. I don't know when Tuipulotu comes back. I think he's big. I see Hugh Jones is back. Some of those guys would be keen to get to Australia. So.
Might be deflected.
Nathan's got another question.
Dobber, what would the message be on Monday? Obviously, you guys are playing against Cardiff. A must win for you guys if you guys want to be above them or what's it. But I mean, again, what would the message be? Cardiff beats you, then obviously above you, and if you beat Cardiff, then you
I think what we've not stumbled on, it's about our performance and our template of how we want to play. So that's what I liked about Benetton was our game model. You know, they're making them, the transition, putting them under pressure. You know, we lost 2 lineouts today, but we, the scrum came right today. So it's set piece pressure, our defensive integrity, which was excellent today, and then creating the transitions, and that was our game model. We saw today again. So it'll be about our game model and imposing that next week. You know, and I think we're getting traction. The players understanding the small detail that we need, the intensity we need around the breakdown. You know, we're generating the fastest ball in the competition at the moment, and that's because of guys like him reacting quickly. It's going to be about us. I say, let's get to Gav's point. We don't know what win 4, 5, 1 because Cardiff could do to. They're playing Friday night, so we go for it. We probably give 1 or 2 other guys an opportunity, just because I want that 28 or 29 ready for Scott's tune, like we did today. You know, so we're given there was obviously the last minute change at hooker, but Wandy gave himself back ready, and Ben gave himself, and then we probably have to look at another scrum half next week, like Herschel. You still want the guys to have gone because of the Champions League. You know, if you want to knock on somebody's door, that they haven't played for 6 weeks. Yeah, so Joe came back in today. So maybe 2 or 3 changes, and we go for it next Friday and focus on our game model, and then. Yeah, we got a week off, and then either Saturday night we're off to Glasgow, or the following Friday we're going to Durban. Both with reason to feel confident and excited, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone. Nathan, he'll be back.
Yeah.
He's finished tackle school. It's perplexing, but he's back next week, which is great. Zach Cawthon did so well for a guy. Now, I must compliment you on the thing you wrote about Brock. Went up in the team room. It was absolutely magic. Meant a lot to us. That was good insight, unlike the rest of them.
I was just I started way back.
And also Mani's back as well, Mani?
Mani's back next week as well.
Awesome.
And it didn't look like we did anybody today, did you? No.
Is Sazi fine?
Yeah, so he's cramping.
No, that's good.
He's fine.
Mani's back.